salary board meeting and the board of commissioners meeting to follow. Today is August 17th, 2023. Appointed hour 9:30 has arrived, so we will begin with our salary board meeting. We'll call that to order, and we need a roll call. Members present, please.
Commissioner Eichelberger.
Present.
Commissioner Pashi.
I'm here.
Commissioner DiFilippo.
Present.
Controller Whitcomb.
Here.
Okay, thank you. All right, that moves us into item number 3, which is an opportunity for public comment. We offer at every meeting, so members of the public who wish to address the salary board on a salary board issue, now's your time. Anyone? And we have an individual online, but I presume that's not for unless he's indicating.
No, he's not raising his hand.
Okay. All right. Okay, that we'll close that out. Item 4, the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of August the 3rd.
I'll second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, it moves us to item 5. Now's the opportunity for, we have a list of items here that enable individual offices to participate on an individual vote for their office as part of the salary board because of the impact to their office. And we have them all listed here. Hopefully everybody has an agenda. Is there anyone that we have not included who requires recognition for?
Yeah, actually, the coroner is going to be a number J. He hasn't listed.
Others? Okay. Is Jay a number?
Well,
Well, you know, that's no longer. Okay, so that'll be the corner. We'll make note of that. Okay, that brings us to the list of actions under item 6.
at this point, the clerk of courts, make a motion.
Motion is for the approval of 5-factor classification structure and wage scale for non-bargaining clerk of court office employees and placement of all eligible positions on the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale per the match step hybrid implementation method effective August 27th, 2023.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Are there any questions? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed indicate by no. Please record my vote as no. Okay.
District Attorney,
I would move for the approval of the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale for non-bargaining district attorney's office employees and placement of all employees on the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale per the match step hybrid implementation method effective August 27th of 2023.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, moved and seconded. If there's no questions, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Clerk means no, please.
Recorder deeds,
I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale for non-bargaining recorder of deeds employees and placement of all eligible positions on the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale for the matchup step hybrid implementation method effective August 27th, 2023.
I second the motion.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Please record me as no.
Register Wells, is she on the line?
Yep, I'm here. So I move for the approval of the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale for non-bargaining register of wills and clerk of orphans court office employees and placement of all eligible positions on the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale per the match step hybrid implementation method effective August 27, 2023.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Zoning Attorney,
Motion for the approval of the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale for non-bargaining prothonotarius office employees and placement of all eligible positions on the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale per the match step hybrid implementation method effective August 27th, 2023.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Sheriff,
On behalf of Sheriff Smith, I make a motion for the approval of the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale for non-bargaining sheriff's office employees and placement of all eligible positions on the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale per the match step hybrid implementation method effective August 27, 2023.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
No.
Treasurer? She may be here later, so we'll skip her for now. Courts,
Motion for approval of the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale for non-bargaining court employees and placement of all eligible positions on the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale per the match step hybrid implementation method effective August 27th, 2023.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
No.
Public defender,
Move for the motion for approval of the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale for non-bargaining public defender office employees and placement of all eligible positions on the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale for the match step hybrid implementation method effective August 27th.
I'll second the motion.
It's moved and seconded, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
No.
Pointer,
I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale for non-bargaining coroner's office employees and placement of all eligible positions on the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale for the match step hybrid implementation method effective August 27, 2023.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's moved and seconded, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That completes all of the individual offices. Nothing additional. That brings us to item 8, the approval of this, I'm sorry, now 7, the 5-factor classification structure.
I'll make a motion for approval of the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale for non-bargaining county employees and placement of all eligible positions on the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale per the match step hybrid implementation method effective August 27, 2023.
I'll second.
Okay, it is moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
No. That brings us to salary board actions.
I'll make a motion to approve all the other salary board actions.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
No. Thank you. All right, other business.
Just have a question. Keith, since the treasurer's not here, does this automatically pass?
No, action has to be taken in that office. She's been given notice, she's given the opportunity. She's not here, we either recess the meeting till she's available, or someone makes the motion for her office.
Is there anybody else in her office that is empowered to make?
She has a second deputy.
She can-
Do you want me to run over and see if he's available?
It's right next door, so why don't we go ahead and give that a try? So
I'll just do that second deputy.
Yeah, nobody's here.
They all want the same thing.
Andy was on this. That's why she.
Second deputy could also.
This is our second deputy. And you want to share that information with her?
Yeah.
Just read this. Yeah, just read that.
Make a motion.
You want me to make the motion?
Yeah.
Okay. I make the motion to approve of the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale for non-bargaining treasurer's office employee and placement of all eligible positions on the 5-factor classification structure and wage scale for the match step hybrid implementation method effective August 27th, 2023.
Great. I'll second the motion.
Yes, moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, that takes us to additional business. I do have a statement. I'm not going to read it. I would just like to have it attached to the minutes with explanation language, so we don't require any action. Okay, if there's no additional business,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
stand adjourned. Thank you. All right, that will next move us into the Board of Commissioners meeting. Feel free to give a second of the room. And we can always open with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the meeting to order, the Board of Commissioners meeting, and roll call member present.
Commissioner Eichelberger,
Present.
Commissioner Quashie. I'm here. Commissioner DeFilippo.
Present.
Great, thank you. That brings us to item 3. We have an opportunity for public comment. Anyone who wishes to address non-agenda items. And
We just have that.
Mr. Wilson's not interested in speaking. Okay.
I have, there's no one else I'd like to make public comment. Have my documentation admitted and included in these 80 minutes. And I will take approximately 7 minutes of this board's time. In just a few short months, my second and final term as county commissioner will be ending. Before I leave the office, I would like to address false accusations made about me over the last year or so by one of my colleagues, Mr. Eichelberger. I'm not going to read all of these documents, but I am requesting that this small sample be attached to the minutes of this meeting, along with the review that I am reading currently. We all remember COVID and its effects upon the country. As a result of COVID, our federal government awarded funds so that state and local governments could address the negative impacts of COVID. The program was known as the American Recovery Plan Act, otherwise known as ARPA. Cumberland County was awarded about $49 million, of which about half was unanimously decided to be granted to organizations within our county. The other half, the county kept to address its own revenue shortfalls due to COVID. In December of 2021, at a Board of Commissioners meeting, a public meeting, it was unanimously approved for a plan to review, recommend, and allocate funds via ARPA. A committee of 7 subject matters was formed. 6 of these individuals were well-respected county employees, and the 7th individual was a well-respected consultant. This committee handled the entire application review and recommendation process. The committee completed its work and did so, in my opinion, with great integrity and transparency. There was later an information session held on September 7th, 2022, and the committee presented to the Board of Commissioners the funding project options. This information is also included in my documentation. At a public meeting held on October 26, 2022, Mr. Eichelberger accused me and our colleague Commissioner Fashi of having influenced the ARPA application and selection process. When I confronted Mr. Eichelberger at a public meeting on October 31st of the same year, he was unable to provide any proof of his false accusations. He continued to spread these false accusations for many months without having any proof whatsoever of such wrongdoing. He even went to the press, and to the best of my knowledge, they refused to print anything because the allegations could not be proven. After a while, enough is enough. For the first time in my political career, which spans almost 18 years, I requested information via a right to know in early June of this year. And the results of that right to know request have indicated that Mr. Eichelberger used county email and county property to spread false accusations to multiple recipients regarding me and others regarding the county's application recommendation process of the ARPA grant funds. It's one thing to disagree on an issue. An elected official's vote is their privilege. Sometimes votes are unanimous, sometimes they are not. It's expected to be disagreement on some issues, to lose your voice on an issue when the vote does not go your way. And politically speaking, we can also agree that we have witnessed political officials spouting false accusations about one another to win an election. However, when false accusations are made repeatedly to multiple people and organizations that are, in my situation, potential clients and colleagues following my respective terms in office, accusations that disparage and defame, then it is a serious matter. It's simply inexcusable, not to mention cowardly. For my own peace of mind and clarification, I recently spoke to 6 of the 7 members of the ARPA committee that this board approved to review the ARPA applications and provide recommendations. These conversations occurred between July 25th and August 1st of this year. One of the 7 members is no longer an employee of the county, so I was not able to contact this person. However, when I asked the remaining 6 of them if I had ever influenced, interfered, or asked for any special favors, all of them told me that I never interfered nor influenced them in any way. In fact, some of them actually laughed at the question. They all told me that no commissioners interfered in the process. Yes, yet Mr. Eichelberger continues to accuse me and Commissioner Fauci of such actions. These accusations are defamatory. By the way, I'm not defending Commissioner Fauci. She can do quite well if she so desires. I have found numerous written communications in which Mr. Eichelberger made false accusations against me and other county officials. These communications are now public information. What I have in my hand here is just a small sample of those communications. As an example, there is a written communication from Mr. Eichelberger to a Dickinson Township official and a New Cumberland Borough Council member, falsely accusing me of interfering in the ARPA process and, in my opinion, making these accusations with malice. There were emails to the press during August of 2022 and afterwards, claiming that Commissioner Fauci and I interfered in the ARPA process. There are emails referencing an ARPA grant request from Penn Harris, sent to representatives of Penn Harris from Mr. Eichelberger, which also spread false and defaming accusations about me and others. As stated, I'm not going to read all the emails from this right to know request, but it is now public information. I do hope that anyone interested in finding out the truth about this matter will take the opportunity to read this information and draw their own conclusions. I think it's time that the voters of this county find out the truth about this matter and some other things that my recent right to know request has produced. I will not allow anyone to attack my integrity with false accusations that defame my character, and I will not stand silent. I'd like to admit this for our meeting minutes.
Very brief response, because this is not really the place to litigate this, but I find it interesting that Commissioner DeFilippo says everybody's entitled to opinion when he seems very unaccepting of opinions. The accusations I have made, I believe every single one of them to be true. I think what we're seeing is an exhibition of sour grapes over the outcome of the election. To say that you didn't try to influence any of them, I know for a fact is incorrect.
Where's your proof?
It's verbal. I don't record people who offer me something. So certainly you can hide behind that. No doubt about it. So I will point out that when this process started, I recommended that we adopt the same process we've used throughout my tenure, which is we impanel the subject matters who are arm's length or more from the county commissioners. You talk to these people. The problem is structural. Every one of these people is under the thumb of the county commissioners, and they know that. And they can certainly perceive threats and act as yes men, yes women, even if that's not the intention. And I can't speak to whether that was the intention or not, but I certainly believe there were a number of actions taken, including an action that I counseled against very early in the process, and that is attending the dog and pony shows that these interest groups held outside of the process of consideration. And I stated that I thought, if only for public appearance, that commissioners should shy away from attending dog and pony shows, lunches, tours, all of these things that were being done. That was ignored. And I did receive some feedback from other persons who were there that indicated some troubling things. So I don't have court and proof of law. I'm not required to. I respond on what I see, and what I saw was a significant departure from our past practice of ensuring a high degree of unassailable integrity in the selection process for our grants. $49.2 million is a great deal of money. And I think that behooved us to follow the same procedure that we used only months before with the Cumberland Renews program, where we had engaged outside partners as part of that. It was advisable, as I stated at the time, for us to follow that, so our process would be beyond reproach. And that was stated otherwise. There's more I could say. I hope I'm not compelled to say more. I think the matter is essentially resolved now, unfortunately, in a way that's not helpful to the county and to many of the applicants, well-deserving applicants for those funds. So that happens to be where we stand.
That's where you stand. Don't say we. That's where you stand.
I guess it was kind of the royal we. That's where I stand.
That's where you stand.
That's fine. But
You believe everything you just said?
yeah,
Okay, that's what I needed to know. You firmly believe every word you just said.
yeah. I also know. I also know we were told that we should not access those applications. I heard numerous comments that indicated, at least, that commissioners were very aware of them, had offered opinions on them, and had conferred two commissioners, while excluding one, on which ones warranted merit and which did not. That's not what the selection
I wish
process
you
was
would prove
intended
that.
to be.
I
Well, I don't
wish
walk
you
around
say
recording
these
things
and
because
don't
that's a
prove
wiretapping violation, but I
Gary
can hear when
Eichelberger,
your voice carries
I've
down the
read-
hall.
that right to know request.
Yeah.
I've read every one of them. And what you were accusing Commissioner DiFilippo and I of doing, you did, and it's in writing. It's in writing, and it's public information, and you did it from county computers and your county email address, and
I
you
think that's a
bullied
real
people
stretch.
and promised people things you could not deliver. And that
We
is
promised
the talk
nothing.
in this town.
The only thing that I have
You
ever said to
promised
people is
things
that
you couldn't deliver. And
No.
when you couldn't deliver them, you panicked. And you went, well, I'm just gonna turn this on Vincent Jean. It's in those emails.
what is in those emails is that there were indications made,
Emails
in particular to New
Are
Cumberland,
part of the
by
record.
commissioners who then flip-flopped when they apparently calculated, for whatever reasons that I don't need to go into, that.
Would you please go into the reason?
No, I'm not going to.
I
I'm
would,
not going
I
to.
would
We've
like to
had
hear
this-
everything that you
We've
have
had
to
this,
say.
we've had this debate.
I
and
have
you
not
don't
had
know-
this debate.
Well, we'll have it
I'm
during
going
the
to tell
fall
you
election because this is
over
an
and over
election.
again.
That's clearly why this is being
You
brought
are
up. It's an election.
lying. You are lying. Commissioner DiFilippo spelled out the facts about the votes on this and your agreement to the procedure and the process. And you were all cool
The
until
process,
you promised people
No,
things you couldn't
you
deliver.
didn't follow the process that was agreed to. That was
Gary,
the root
you
of the
are
problem.
lying.
Yeah,
You are
that's
lying.
your answer to everything. Go ahead.
No, that's my answer to you. It's not my answer to everything. You
Right.
have called county employees liars.
I am not.
Yes, you have.
I have said they have
The things that you
felt,
have said in those emails about Commissioner DiFilippo
what
and
I've said is they
I'm
felt
gonna remind you
intimidated.
about
I
this.
felt they were
Actual
intimidated by
malice.
commissioners. That's the
Actual malice towards an elected official. I have had to call the sheriff down here to intervene with you when you have threatened me.
I did
I
not
have
threaten
read
you.
what
That was
the
a
hell you
contrived
did.
event. It was a
You better
politically
shut
motivated.
up,
contrived
Boshy,
event.
or you're gonna get it.
I did not say
That's
that.
what you said to me.
And I have statements from
People
our
in this
staff
room-
members that call you
People
the
in this
liar.
room, people in this room will back it up, and the sheriff was here.
Well, we have written
and took
statements
my
from staff
testimony.
members.
Really, where are
You
those written
and
statements,
you
Gary?
refused,
Bring them.
you refuse, I have, okay, and
I know,
you refused to
and where?
file, you
Where's
refused
your
to file a
taxpayer
statement.
protection plan?
You
I
refused.
can't wait to read your statement on why you couldn't vote for employees' salary increases today. And I hope
Which-
the
all of
taxpayer
which I have
protection
made-
plan is in it, because where is it?
I have all made,
You have never
My
released it.
comments-
You have made that up.
I did not made it up. You
Yes,
can go
you have.
back and
Then
look in the
Please
newspaper.
produce it. Please produce this brilliant taxpayer protection plan. Please, I would love to read it. If you really think that
Well,
that's the way the county should be
we
going,
were
you should
challenged-
share that with Commissioner.
We were challenged
DiFilippo and
on
I.
that by Dennis Lebo a number of years ago.
I'm not we. You
And-
are you. Don't say we.
No, the commissioners in
Don't say
general,
we.
because in the past, other
You were
commissioners
challenged.
supported pro-taxpayer efforts.
Where
This
is
board
it?
does not.
Where is the taxpayer
Joanne
protection plan?
submitted a pile of documents that was
I don't know who
head high.
Joanne is. You
Joanne
are,
Burkhart, who was the office
you
manager.
are,
in ancient.
And Mr.
ancient
Lebo
history-
decided to drop his name.
You ready to say something terrible about Mr. Lebo? Go ahead, put it on the record. Put it on the record. Gary, your behavior in this 4 years has been terrible. Terrible. You are single-handedly causing terrible problems with our employees. And I read in those
I
emails,
reject that.
employees won't look at me. Employees act like they're afraid of me. That's my fault, and Commissioner.
I'm not familiar with that, and
They're in
I
your-
have
they're
to
your
wonder about the
words.
context.
You better read the emails.
I have to wonder about the context. of your
Actual
comments.
malice towards an elected official.
I think
You better read those emails.
that was for an elected official. I'm entitled to
Actual
my
malice.
interpretation of what I
Query.
see.
Actual malice towards an elected official.
Well, there's only one person in this courthouse
Query.
who has exhibited.
Actual
Actually, there's
malice.
two, you and your buddy,
Towards an elected
not this
official.
buddy, the other buddy.
Query.
I think we're done.
Actual malice
We're-
towards an elected, oh, I'm so ready to wrap this up. But you're not gonna sit here and lie about me. And I've read those emails, and they are terrible.
Well, guess what? You know, what we do
I know,
here
that's
is
what you
important.
do.
And there's,
That's what you do.
maybe
You
we
are
require a
losing
little more
control.
frankness.
You say terrible things to make yourself feel better.
I don't have to
It's
say
not
that.
working out, buddy.
I'm
It's not
doing-
working for you.
Fine, good for you, good for you. You want to try to cover up what you've done last.
I haven't done anything but serve the people of Cumberland County
Serve the people.
in spite of you.
Well, we'll see when budget time rolls around this year and next year, so then we'll see.
I think you're also ignoring what the budget really looks like, but that's okay. And if there are problems with the budget, Gary, there's one common denominator over the past 20 years,
Well,
and that's you.
actually, it's not me, so.
No, that's you. Where is this taxpayer protection plan? I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it today. If I were you, I would print it and I would enter it as part of the record.
It is an ongoing series of reforms. Many of the things we talk about in here.
Where are they, Gary?
We talk about them all the time, the things like gain sharing, pay for performance.
That's part of your taxpayer protection
They're
plan.
all part of it. Performance measurements.
Would you
I came
please
to
put all
office
of this in
saying-
writing? Instead of sitting down with your poison pen as a coward behind your computer, writing horrible things about
I'm
all
a
kinds
coward.
of people, not just.
I
you
stand here and take unpopular
Put that-
stands every day, and I
Put
justify
that
them,
in
and you
writing.
can read
Put
this
the
statement.
taxpayer protection.
I didn't read the
And I think
statement
it's
today
interesting
because
you didn't read
this
it.
has been, I'll read it if you like, but it's been 2 years in making. I've made all these statements before. So I thought I would expedite business today and save all of you
I think there's
the
a reason you don't
interpretation
wanna
that you
read
think
that.
you're being, I'll read it.
Go ahead.
Mr. Solicitor, is it okay for me to read the statement on this?
Yeah.
Here it is. As pledged, I voted in opposition to the pay scale revision plan being adopted by the Board of Commissioners today. The results adopted today are rooted in a process begun 2 years ago in the midst of unprecedented labor market turmoil. Two workforce development experts agreed with me that the timing was inherently bad and joined me in recommending a 6 to 12-month delay for undertaking any wage scale analysis. The process rolled forward immediately over my opposing vote, ostensibly because the county was experiencing difficulty in hiring new employees, a situation that was being successfully managed on a rolling basis, but that involved a commitment of time and energy the commissioners did not wish to continue to exert, and also to offset the rapid rise in inflation and post-COVID transition. That decision ignores several vital facts, carelessly disregarding the cost impacts. Item. Labor markets were seriously distorted during that period, the worst possible time to undertake any type of benchmarking of comparative data, as employers rapidly outbid each other to lay claim to the extraordinarily limited supply of workers. All figures in any survey would be artificially inflated by efforts of employers to meet a near-term hiring crisis that was temporary. Item. This study was taken nearly 2 years ago, yet only now is brought to a vote, and the process was reported to us as having encountered an enormous range of problems, possibly tied to the labor market distortion, possibly tied to the methods used to measure labor markets. The actual reasons have never been made clear. Item. Serious questions remain about whether the rollout may have been intentionally delayed to ensure county commissioners could prevent the resulting pay raise and its fiscal impact on the county budget from becoming a public issue during the May primary election. Item. The raises are based on the contention that employees are not adequately compensated, yet ignore substantial facts, including the generous benefits package, the presence of a highly beneficial defined benefit pension plan, a rare offering for non-governmental workers, and the inherent stability of government employment during economic distress, when most non-public workers are confronted with the very real prospect of layoffs and job loss. Item, Cumberland County employees have received 3 COLAs in the past period of little more than a year, in addition to performance bonus opportunities. This seems to be far more than an average citizen can expect. One has to ask whether this policy intentionally places government employment above that of non-government employees and taxpayers, which both serve as the revenue source that pays for these increases. Significantly, such increases should never be instituted in an economic vacuum. This country faces a very real possibility of entering recession in the next year, something the county's financial advisors have told commissioners to expect as an inevitability. This holds the real possibility of depressing labor rates, just as county government is raising them. Long-term policies based on offsetting inflation are illogical as inflation fluctuates significantly, often over a relatively short term. For example, this study was justified under the claims that Amazon is paying $20 an hour and stealing our workers. However, Amazon and many others are now decreasing starting wages, slowing hiring, even conducting layoffs, and other active cost cutting presently. As a result of this pay hike and its irreversible long-term consequences, county government is now likely to become a significant driver of wage inflation for the local and regional economy. Wage increases on a broad scale also contradict the federal government's effort to tame widespread inflation by working at counter purposes. Interest rate increases, while painful, are intended to temporarily reduce consumer activity to allow productivity to catch up and equalize supply and demand, a natural correction of the free market. Policies like this offset those efforts, thus prolonging the problem for citizens, while simultaneously outsourcing the real impacts of inflation from government workers to the public, which will pay higher taxes to fund these raises. That public is already impacted by inflation and economic uncertainty currently through decreased purchasing power, which will be aggravated by additional taxes. County employees also receive automatic cost of living and performance-driven adjustments annually, something many private citizens who pay taxes do not. While remaining wage competitive is a key responsibility of management that requires close and ongoing attention, the process result approved today, by entirely ignoring and dismissing the valid and serious issues I have outlined here, more closely represents justification for a cash grab at serious taxpayer expense than a serious competitiveness effort. That's my strongly held opinions based on real world facts. I've made these comments throughout the 2 years. They've landed nowhere. I may prove to be wrong. Maybe there won't be a recession. That's fine. I think risk management is a part of our responsibility for oversight, and we should have taxpayers in mind primarily when we make such decisions. A delay of a few months, as I recommended and others validated, I think would have saved us a great number of these problems. So that's my statement. That is what I've put out there. I have the opportunity to vote my opinion, which I have been elected to do, and I have done that. And I state my opinion, and sometimes it's unpopular, and sometimes it's vilified, but it is my opinion. I have a right to that opinion. I have a right to express that opinion. I made a point of not trying to read this to be inflammatory today. That simply be entered into the record for historical purposes. And I was thwarted in that because people want to pick a fight.
I know it's my fault.
So-
It's my fault that you wrote that and that you wanted it in the record. I think
I
it's
didn't say
important
that.
for you to remember, you're entitled to your opinion.
Mhm.
Our employees are also taxpayers.
Yes, they are.
They are. You are entitled to your opinion. You are not entitled to the things that you have written to people and said to people about employees in this courthouse and about your colleagues. You are not entitled to that. Everyone lets you talk. You talk a lot.
But I talk
But when
sense.
you tell crazy things about other people, it's not okay. I am ready to move on. I fully expect
you don't-
full backlash
I don't know. I
within
know.
the next week.
I know you don't appreciate the First
Terrible
Amendment
backlash.
because when we last talked about the
Full and
Constitution,
terrible
you
backlash.
waved it away.
I
So
can't wait for it. Just know, I'm ready.
I consider the issue done, frankly. That's why I didn't read it out loud until it was
I'm very
demanded.
glad that you read that into the record, and I thank you for sharing it.
Very good. I made my case. I think it's a very rigorously compiled case. And there it is. So the public will make its own judgment on that as they have the opportunity. So ready to actually do the people's business now?
Yes, absolutely.
Very nice. Okay, so that completes item 3, the public comment on non-agenda items. And moves us to consent agenda. So the COO, Chief Clerk, will take over that.
Thank you, Mr. Eichelberger. So the consent agenda is a list of routine items. They do not appear to be controversial in nature. They do not appear to require any additional discussion. If anybody does wish to discuss any of the items, agenda items 4 through 10, now would be the time to make that request to move that to follow the consent agenda. Okay, hearing none, seeing none, commissioners, I would ask for approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, commissioners. That takes us then to the regular agenda, which are non-routine items, and they'll be discussed and they'll be acted upon individually if the board so chooses. And we'll start with agenda item number 11. Ryan Menser is joining us on Zoom to discuss resolution 2023-17, which regards the Yellow Breaches Educational Center. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning, commissioners. So the resolution in front of you authorizes the holding of a public hearing, which was held last Thursday, August 10th by the Cumberland County IDA. And then it also approves the execution of the attached certificate of approval, which is an item that we need to comply with the federal tax code in order for the Cumberland County IDA to issue a tax exempt note for the benefit of the Yellow Breaches Educational Center, which it will use to purchase a existing elementary school building in Fredericksburg in Lebanon County. They're currently leasing the facility. They wish to purchase it. They use the facility to further its mission, providing alternative education services. These are children in K through 12 that need alternative education for whatever reason. They have IEPs, and the Yellow Breaches Education Center is based out of Carlisle. They have 5 or 6 facilities now. So the reason why we're in front of the county commissioners is because since we're using the Cumberland County IDA as the issuer, we need the approval of the commissioners under the tax code since they incorporated the authority. If anybody has any questions regarding the project or the tax code regarding this approval, I'd be happy to answer them now. Otherwise, I'd ask that you adopt the resolution as it is in front of you.
Any commissioners for Ryan or any more coffee needed? I'm sorry. Any questions for Ryan, commissioners?
Do we have a motion for approval?
I will move to approve resolution 2023-17 regarding the Yellow Breaches Educational Center.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, that takes us to agenda item 12. Paul Polensky is joining us to discuss and seek approval for a donation for Cumberland County Treatment Court.
Mr. Paul Polensky chatted with me. He had to be in court at 10 o'clock and he asked that it be moved to the next agenda, the next meeting.
Solicitor,
So you can do that, you can take action on it now.
I mean, this is very straightforward.
Yeah.
You've received the letter.
Do we have a motion for approval?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve that Criminal Justice Services to receive a donation from Matthew Books for Cumberland County Treatment Court in the amount of $250.
I second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, commissioners. That takes us to agenda item 13. Beth Chornak is going to be presenting the Cumberland County ERP charter for approval. Good morning, Beth.
Good morning. Today I'm asking you to adopt the changes to the existing ERP charter. The original charter was established in 2002 prior to implementing Lawson. The purpose of the charter is to integrate all design changes amongst all parties that are involved in Lawson so that no one party's decisions override another. With the Lawson upgrade on the horizon, we decided to revisit the charter. A summary of the changes we'd like to add to it are to re-add the chief clerk to the steering committee which would make the steering committee consist of 3 members instead of 2. And add the treasurer position to the ERP design team, which brings it up to 5 members. We also updated the roles to both the steering committee and design team to reflect what we're currently actually practicing.
Any questions for Beth? I will move to approve to adopt the Cumberland County ERP charter as discussed.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, Beth is also here to discuss agenda item 14, which is a revised capital project request for server migration.
I'm also requesting the approval to increase the Empress Lawson server migration capital project by $30,000 to cover third-party software required by the new environment upgrade. Moving to operating system 2019 requires a new compiler for the Lawson to function.
Any questions for Beth?
So motion.
Move to approve the revised capital project request for the ERP office for the info server migration with a new total project cost of $140,000.
A second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion carries.
I'm going to turn the meeting over now to Angela Smyser to cover contracts.
Thank you, Stacy. Good morning, everybody. Moving on to agenda item 15, I will call on Kim Winton to discuss the contract for aging community services. Good morning, Kim.
Hi, good morning, commissioners. I'm requesting approval for a contract addendum for the Adams County Aging for the Aging and Disability Resource Center. This is for a special project to promote Medicare.
Any questions for Kim?
I will move to approve the Adams County Area Agency on Aging contract addendum for aging and community services.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. All right, moving on to agenda item 16, I will call on Jamie Reiber to discuss the contracts for children and youth. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning. The first contract I have is for Children's Home of York. They provide foster care services for us. They are requesting increases between 16.55% and 17.31% due to increases in their operating costs. We do use them fairly minimally for their services, and we actually have not granted them their full requested increases for several years. Valley Youth House Committee is our next one. They provide shelter and independent living services. Again, we don't use them very often, but we do like to have them available if needed. They're requesting increases ranging from 3.28% to 33.24%. They have increases to staff salaries and benefits, a 10% increase to medical expenses for the youth in their program, increase in food, utility, and rent costs for their facilities. And they have obtained their specialized setting certification for a shelter location and their independent living programs. Next one is drug and alcohol rehabilitation services. They provide drug and alcohol treatment. They are requesting an increase of 18.64% for their supervised independent living program and 61.91% to the drug and alcohol treatment program. That program is usually funded by the behavioral health insurance for the child, and we would only pay if they didn't qualify for insurance or for a brief period of time until the insurance approves that placement setting. They have not requested significant increases in many years and are citing general operating costs and specifically the increase to the food and supplies for the residential services. The next one is Hugh Smith and Associates. They provide multiple psychological and assessment services. And we are utilizing this program whenever insurance isn't available or we need something in a more timely manner than other providers can typically accommodate. There are several services increasing with increases ranging from 11.11% to 50%, but our most used services of forensic psychological evaluations and emotional abuse and trauma assessments are actually not increasing at all this fiscal year. The next contract is for City Mission Livingstones. They provide shelter and residential services, increasing 18.28% for their shelter and 15% for the residential program. The residential or the shelter program has implemented the PA medication administration program. The residential program has made enhancements to their daily living skills program. And both programs are experiencing increases to transportation costs as well as food supplies, staff benefits and salaries. And they've also made improvements to the security of their campuses by increasing the number of security cameras available. Next contract is True North Wellness Services. They provide functional family therapy, which is an approved in-home service that is now eligible for Title IV reimbursement. They are requesting a 19.47 increase across the board for their services other than their actual evaluations. They are seeing an increase in staff travel and transportation due to expanding their area of service. They're providing additional trainings for their therapists, and they have made several technology enhancements and are providing telehealth services to clients. And the last one I have is Evenco International. This is a company that was selected by the state to provide the case management system for child welfare. The costs are split between the other 56 counties that utilize the service for CWIS and their ad hoc services. And our hosting cost is based on the number of employees that are accessing the system. So that is increasing 2% this year due to our increase in staff. Any questions?
Yeah, Jamie, on the fifth item, is it city mission or clear mission?
It is city mission.
Okay. A couple of documents inside say clear mission. It's no big deal, but just be sure it was right. I'll make a motion to approve the contracts for children and youth as listed on our agenda item 16.
I second.
Okay, moved and seconded. If no further questions. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks.
Moving on to agenda item 17, I will call on Eric Radnovich to discuss the grant application for the district attorney's office.
Good morning, commissioners. I have two applications here for you today. I have an acceptance of a forensic laboratory grant acceptance, a Paul Coverdale grant for $162,823 to provide equipment for the forensic laboratory. And there is a second grant application to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for $406,033.78. It is a 3-year DUI and traffic enforcement and pedestrian safety grant.
I think Eric was describing both 17 and 18 just in the opposite order. So any questions for him?
No.
I will move to approve item 17, which is the PA Department of Transportation grant application of $406,033.78 for the district attorney's office.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I will move to approve agenda item 18, which is the PCCD grant acceptance of $162,823 for the district attorney's office FID.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much, Eric. Moving on to agenda item 19, I will now call on Ryan Simon to discuss the contracts for drug and alcohol. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning, commissioners. Our first contract is with Janet. Janet provides prevention program support. Whenever our prevention unit goes out and does a couple different programs, we need more staff on hand than what we have in the unit. So Janet comes in and helps us out. So we're looking to increase her hourly rate to $18 an hour this year. The second one is Eagleville Hospital. They provide inpatient services, both hospital-based and non-hospital-based. They're asking for a 20% increase on their withdrawal management and 10% increase on their regular rehab, 9% on their enhanced, and then 10% on their intensive rehab. Any questions?
Motion.
Move to approve the contracts for drug and alcohol as listed on agenda item 19.
I second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Ryan. Right. We'll move on to item number 20, and I will call on Kirk Stoner to discuss the contract for finance liquid fuels. Good morning, Kirk.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is the price proposal and legal agreement for HRG to serve as the Cumberland County Bridge Engineer. Is serving in that capacity, they'll do inspections on 47 municipally owned bridges, 28 county owned bridges over a period of 5 years. Cost for the contract is $1.2 million. 80% of that cost is covered by the state. 20% or about $242,000, excuse me, is covered by the county, which works out to about $48,000 per year of the 5-year agreement. That cost is covered by our liquid fuels allocation. This is HRG's multiple term, I believe their 5th term that they've been appointed as the county bridge engineer. The board had requested a summary of their costs from previous contracts compared to now. I provided that to the board for your information. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions?
Kirk, how many bridges will be inspected during that time period? Will that be all county bridges or?
Vince, each bridge is on a different inspection cycle. For this 5-year cycle, every bridge, all 75 of those bridges will be inspected at least 3 times. Then there's an interim cycle where certain bridges that have problems or have certain criteria, they need to be inspected every year. So out of this 3-year inspection period, we'll see the 5-year inspection period, we'll see 3 years where every bridge in this inventory will be inspected.
Appreciate the info. Thank you.
Motion.
I'll move to approve the HRG contract for finance liquid fuels.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kirk. Moving on to agenda item 21, I will call on Annie Strite to discuss the contracts for MHIDD. Good morning, Annie.
Good morning. I have 5 contracts to present to the board here this morning. Some are amendments from the prior fiscal year and some are new contracts for the current fiscal year. So the first being the York County Transportation Authority, Rapid Transit. And this is actually an amendment for fiscal year 22-23. It's an additional $4,405, and that's based on additional services rendered for transporting individuals with serious mental illness. So that brings our total contract to $128,936. The second contract is with Care Options Pharmacy, and that they provide medicine for people with serious mental illness who do not have any other kinds of insurance. So you can see it's a small contract. This is actually for the current fiscal year, 23-24, and it's a decrease of $500 being requested. So the total contract that they're requesting is $3,000. The third contract is for Invo Healthcare Associates, and this is an amendment to the prior fiscal year. And it's an increase of $14,527, and it's based on additional services rendered for children who receive early intervention services. That brought their total contract to $137,000. And then the next contract is with Focus Behavioral Health. And this is a renewal for the current fiscal year 23-24. And it's an increase over last year of over $21,000. But that's they provide in-home and community supportive services. And the contract for the prior fiscal year was only a couple of months. So this is representative of a full year anticipated service. So the contract amount is for $25,659. And then the final contract is with Vista Autism Services. And this is for the current fiscal year, 23-24. And it is a decrease of $16,224. And they provide supported employment services for individuals with intellectual disabilities. And again, similar to the prior contract, their contract last year was only for a couple of months. So their total contract is $23,776. Do you have any questions?
Any additional questions?
Additional questions, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the contracts for contracts and addendums for MHIDDS listed in agenda item 21.
I second.
Okay, so moved and seconded. If there's no questions, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Motion carried. Annie, don't go anywhere for a second here.
Sure.
There's an advisory board meeting today, is that correct?
No, actually, we do not meet in August. So in
Okay.
September, we would be meeting.
It's on my calendar. I received no update from Trudy, so I just wanted to double check that. And as a result, I didn't have the latest report from you, nor did I get a chance to call you about any updates. So since we have you here, is there anything as far as the liaison to the commissioners that you wanted to pass along?
Well, I'll say we were able to take a team to the Crisis Intervention Team Conference in Detroit. We just arrived home last evening. So we're playing a little catch up here today. But it was an exciting time. I will say that I was very excited to be part of the team from Pennsylvania. So we had some police officers there, some crisis staff there. We had a family member there, as well as a person with lived experience there. And that is how crisis intervention teams move forward. So that's been our week thus far. We're also then working through our contracts. We've not heard anything yet about the allocation structure of the additional $20 million from the governor's office. As the board is aware, we've been doing a lot of outreach and trying to make sure that our legislators understand how important it is that the funding formula be evaluated. Because with Cumberland County being the fastest growing county in the Commonwealth, we need those additional dollars. I think it's interesting that there are counties in other parts of the state that are shrinking in population as quickly as we're growing. So I think it really highlights the need to review that allocation structure, both for mental health and for IDD. So hopefully we can get some traction with those requests.
I do have a follow-up question on that, Annie, because I've asked this, I'm not sure what the answer means, but in the past, we've operated under the assumption that the allocation, it was an administrative matter from within the executive branch. And now we're hearing that the legislature actually does have a role in that. And I'm not sure which is completely accurate. What is your understanding?
Well, similar to you, I've been asking anybody who I think may know. I actually posed the question to a couple of our legislators, as well as then I posed it with the governor's liaison. And they were indicating that it actually, they think is part of the fiscal code bill, which has not been approved yet. So we're following down that pathway, believing that that's who actually approves it.
Okay, so it's not just, the legislature is not just the application of the code, they're writing that.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay, well, obviously we can't solve the problem till we fully understand the problem, so.
That's correct.
We should continue looking at that. So that was the only question I had. Anybody else have questions for Annie since we got her?
I concur with what you've said, Annie. That's the same answer I get. And I really don't think anyone knows what the formula is or how it's determined. But I am, I'm hopeful that it's going to be looked at this year, but I'm not holding my breath.
We'll keep encouraging that review.
Yes, and I know CCAP is doing that, so.
Annie, I'm going to put you on the spot. Question related to that, which I know there's been some discussion about the idea that counties collectively or individually may have to initiate legal action against the Commonwealth to have that, to compel a review on that. Problem is, you can't sue if we don't know who to sue. So are you hearing anything more about the possibility of a legal remedy? And do we know what that would be like?
Yeah, I have not heard that as yet. Certainly we'll be meeting with my counterparts with the Pennsylvania Association of County Administrators. So if I hear that, I'll certainly let the board know.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. All right, moving on to agenda item 22, I will call on Bob Shagley to discuss the contract for public safety. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. Did you miss Travis, or you really want to go to me?
He popped up for a second, but he is not on the agenda. I think we already addressed his items, so.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks,
There he
Bob.
is.
Thanks, Bob. I miss you too.
Yeah, that's all right, sir. To support the ongoing tower site work for the P25 radio project, Public Safety is requesting your approval for a land use agreement between Cumberland County and Ferlin and Cheryl Martin. They are the adjoining property owners for the Timber Hill Tower site, and the agreement outlines conditions for our access and related work requirements required to complete the site construction and the tower build at that location. So if you're so inclined, we would request your approval of the agreement.
Okay, do we have a
You
motion?
saw that agreement?
Oh, yes.
Cool. Okay. Well, I will move to approve the contract for public safety with Ferlin J. and Cheryl F. Martin.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Bob.
Thanks.
All right, I will now turn the meeting back over to Stacy.
Thanks, Angela. Okay, that takes us to agenda item 23, which is Commissioner's liaison reports. Commissioner Eichelberger, I'll start with you.
Okay, just briefly, of course, as you heard Amy say, we do not have a meeting of the advisory committee today. I will ask her to send a summary of her report over anyhow. So any updates, especially in regards to training, we can share that among the others. It's an important part of what's being done. Only other item is this weekend is the Household Hazardous Waste event, which, as you all know, proven enormously popular. And Justin continues to do, and his department continue to do a great job administering that. So we'll have an update on numbers on that after the event. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Fauci.
So this month, the library board is not meeting. We have an August hiatus as well as the Western COG August hiatus. I would remind everyone to use the Cumberland County Library System. The Planning Commission did meet this morning. In East Pennsboro Township, the Oyster Mill Road rezoning to R3 was recommended for approval. Boy, Kirk did a really nice job talking about this comprehensive plan survey and the vision for the comprehensive plan. And so, boy, Cumberland Countyans, and if you don't live here, but you work here or you spend time here, please go fill out that survey. It's so important. The questions are great. They're very open-ended. Check it out. It's very, very important that we have public input on that comprehensive plan. And then we just, quickly went through the dashboard. So Cumberland County subdivision and land development activity in July. They looked at 11 plans. Year to date, the plan count is 103, and previous year to date, it was 87. So we certainly are ahead of the curve on that one. Municipal MPC reviews for July, report total of 5, year to date 31, and last year the group looked at 30. And then final plans submitted by land use type. So we've had 6 lot addition, 12 agricultural, 4 industrial, 24 commercial, and 39 residential. And right now, the proposed non-residential square footage in Cumberland County, 923,298 commercial feet. We've got 169,580 in industrial, 64,372 in agricultural, and 200,397 in public or semi-public. So that's it. That's my update. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fauci. Commissioner DiFilippo.
Yeah, I have no reports. None of my liaison meetings occurred during the past 2 weeks. However, tomorrow the Aging Advisory Board meets, Monday the Central Council of Governments meets, and Tuesday night Conservation Districts. So next meeting I'll have several reports.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Well,
Okay, that takes us to agenda item 24, and I would like to report that an executive session was held on August 10, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. regarding personnel. And now I'll ask if there is any other business to come before the board today. Hearing none,